Now Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty man of valor, but he was the son of a harlot. And Gilead begot Jephthah. Gilead's wife bore sons, and when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You shall have no inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." Then Jephthah fled from his brothers and dwelt in the land of Tob, and worthless men banded together with Jephthah and went out raiding with him. It came to pass after time that the people of Ammon made war against Israel. And so it was when the people of Ammon made war against Israel that the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Then they said to Jephthah, "Come, be our commander, that we might fight against the people of Ammon." So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me and expel me from my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in distress?" And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "That is why we have turned again to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the people of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you take me back to fight against the people of Ammon, and the Lord delivers them to me, shall I be your head?" And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "The Lord will be a witness between us if we do not do according to your words." Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord of Mizpah. You may have a seat. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Hebrews didn't give you the details about this guy named Jephthah. So I will attempt to give you some details about this guy. He was an illegitimate born child from a harlot, from an adulterous relationship. Most likely, it was not a one-night stand. To the fact that the harlot became pregnant, and the father took the child into his own home to raise it. The father was willing to have full custody. I wish more fathers would bring their legitimate and illegitimate children to church, amen, and raise them in their own homes. However, there are some issues that occur with blended families, as we will see. Jephthah's brothers did not approve of him living in their house since they had a different mother. But there was no doubt there was some serious sibling rivalry going on there. Jephthah's father dies. His brothers kicked him out and refused to share in the father's inheritance. So Jephthah, after all these years of defending himself, can you imagine being in a house with brothers who really hated you and you had to fight all the time?
Yep.
And I guarantee you, I bet you he didn't lose most of them battles. Jephthah was a bad dude. And so, after defending himself, he learned to fight very well. And I believe he won a lot of those battles, no question about it. And I believe they couldn't wait to get rid of him. The story doesn't really give much about his mother, about the mother in the home. But it doesn't seem like she did a very good job of nurturing him. And even with Jephthah, looking at his brothers, the way they treated him, I just wonder what kind of instruction did the father give. Obviously, the father was a promiscuous man, that he was out seeking relations with someone other than his wife. But he did the honorable thing, and he brought the illegitimate son back to his house to raise him. So he gets a 2 thumbs up for that. I commend him for that. The Bible in Proverbs says, though a righteous man falls 7 times, what does he do? He gets back up. So even though he made a mistake, he did the right thing by bringing the boy home and raising the boy in his own house.
Amen. Amen.
So, Jephthah, being expelled from his house, resorted to raiding and recruited other bandits. Jephthah traveled from Moab to Ammon, taking whatever he wanted. He took whatever he wanted, wherever he went, and nobody could do anything about it. That's how bad this dude was. And so, his fights with his brothers had paid off. He was a natural brawler. He was fearless. Well, one day, the Ammonites decided they wanted to attack Israel. And Israel looked to find a champion who could defend them and fight for them. They were looking for a leader and found none. But Jephthah had a reputation. So they sought Jephthah like a pack of whipped hounds. They sought after him. And we're no different. We only call, text, write, email when we want something.
That's real.
We're a lot like the leaders that back then, when we want something, then we want to come. You know, when we get whipped, we want to come. And we even treat the church in the same manner. We won't come during the summertime, and we don't come when it's fair weather. Come on now. And then when we get into stress, then we want to come. When we need something, then we want to come. And I'm just here to tell you that, you know, if you're in distress and you need something, surely come to the church. Right? That's when you're supposed to come. It's a hospital. But the issue is once you come and get your needs met, you run back out the door. Come on now. God's looking for somebody to come to the hospital and get well and stay and do the work He called them to do. All right, all right. You own it. So some people can only be taught when they're whipped. I'm just saying it's time to have a paradigm shift. I'm more teachable when my heart is right. I don't want to get to a place where I have to be whipped to be taught. Come on, Pastor. I don't want to wait till I get to a place where I got to be beat down and get humbled and humiliated for God to teach me. All right. You own it. But how strange this request from his brothers and his neighbors and from the elders of Gilead, requesting Jephthah to lead them in battle against the Amorites. You'd have kicked him out, allowed his brothers to do this, and didn't say a word. Silent. Silent. And now you need my help. Well, Jephthah, he's a smart man. He negotiates. He says, listen, when my brothers kicked me out, he said nothing. If I go and do this, and God hand them over to me, I want to be a judge over Israel. And so they agreed. Jephthah goes into battle. But before he goes into battle, he prepares himself. He inquires from the Lord. And we too can learn something from Jephthah. All right. Because every day is a battle. Every day is a battle. So when the pastor mentioned about testimonies, and he said, breathe in and breathe out, you just gave a testimony. You know, recovery for me is like breathing. This September, I have 21 years clean and walking with the Lord. So from September 27th, 1992 to the present day, I have walked with the Lord. So I've practiced this thing to the point where recovery is like breathing. Well, in the last few days, I've had a problem with breathing. It's been tough. I've had to labor in breathing. And sometimes that's how life is. Sometimes we can go through life and there's times when we have to labor to live. See, for me, like Pastor, everything on this side of the grave is grace. How many of you use alarm clock to wake up in the morning? Now, next time somebody asks you that question, don't raise your hand. Because if an alarm clock will wake you up, then we can take it out of the cemetery and wake up Aunt Millie. All right. We can take it out of the cemetery and wake up our sons, our daughters. We go out and wake up our mama. You know what I'm saying? Alarm clock cannot wake you up. All alarm clock can do is alert you that God has given you another day.